Hey friends, I want to talk about a decision that I've made in the Service Guild that I want to explicate my reasoning, the strategy, and the thinking that I have behind it, and I hope that it will be of some use to you in your own projects. So to rewind the clock a little bit, in 2021, I left the monastery and I had this question in retrospect that I would describe as, what is my vow, or what am I going to do with my life? And I found the answer of love, and then I found the answer of curiosity, and that still felt kind of incomplete. But I was like, yeah, I think I want to focus on spreading love and kindness meditation, and I also want to be following my curiosity. There was a lot of momentum with my blog and with my podcast, and it was obvious that I wanted to keep working on that. And then I had a call with Mary, and she was going to come on my podcast, and I wanted to kind of feel her out first and have a sense of who she was so that the podcast would go better. And that conversation, the one that we had privately before the podcast, like straightforwardly changed my life and also her life. And I mark that as the beginning of the Service Guild. And a few things happened in that conversation, but one of them was that I realized that empowerment was the third piece that I'd been looking for, that there was a third piece and that it was empowerment. That was why I had this lingering sense of, this isn't complete. And empowerment to me is, of course, is believing that there is such a thing as a vow, that everyone has one, this kind of calling or life purpose, and that I and others should do what we can to support other people in living their vow. And it was very obvious to me that Mary understood that. She hadn't used that word before. She didn't know about a vow in particular. She had her own sense of what a life calling is and her own relationship to that. I just had received the word vow from my training at Maple with Soryu, and that was the way I related to it. But there was a real sense, yes, we're on the same team and we understand the same things. And from there, it also made sense to me, given where I was coming from, to ask her if she wanted to work together for 30 or 40 years, which is how I pitched it. I was like, no pressure. And this is a weird thing to ask. You don't have to say yes, but how would you feel about working together for 30 or 40 years? And more broadly, she was kind of looking for collaborators and was feeling somewhat dissatisfied with her own individual coaching practice, which she'd kind of taken to the limits and was looking to learn and grow more deeply. And she'd heard good things about me from Eric, her partner, and from other people. She had a sense of who I was. And so it was, even though it was an unusual thing for me to ask and an unusual thing for someone to say yes to, she was like, yeah, I'm in. And her intuition said yes in the same way that mine said I should ask her. And we've been working together for 3 years now. And I foresee we'll keep working together indefinitely. And I already knew that I was committed to working on love and that I was committed to working on curiosity. And in that conversation, it became clear that I had already really been working on empowerment. I just wasn't conscious of it, and that I would, by the same measures, be working on empowerment really for the rest of my life. And so if that was true, if I was going to be working on these themes for decades, it made sense to collaborate with other people and have shared context about what we were doing and have a shared vision and shared values and shared goals. And so, of course, I would ask Mary to do that because she was the one that kind of clarified that for me. And even though I just met her, there was already this kind of collaborative chemistry and the sense, I would describe it now as, she's an empowerment person. She's an empowerment coded person. She understands deeply at a deep level what empowerment is without me necessarily having to verbally explain a bunch of context. I can if that's useful, but she already gets it on a soul level, I would say. And in the same way, the people in the love department or the curiosity department, they really get what love or curiosity are. I mean, if you meet BI, for example, or Zev, the two people that I started the love department with, they're just loving people. They're just very kind and very sweet, and they've done a bunch of metta, and they've have the context of Buddhist practice, and they understand what it is, and they embody that with their life and in different ways, but they're both just such loving, sweet people. And of course, the same is true for the other love department members. Vincent and Aspen and Rosie. And so in the same way, in the curiosity department, initially with Eric, who's now a friend of the guild, not actively in the curiosity department, and Christian and Abby, who are actively in the department, they're all just curiosity coded people. They get it. They have a learning practice. They ask questions. They care about conversations. They want to learn and know and grow and develop their skills, and also to share what they're learning with the world. And so there was this sense of, I should organize my collaborations around these themes. I should categorize which projects I'm doing under these themes, and I should build this shared context with those collaborators. Be like, we are working about this is a love project, or this is a curiosity project, this is an empowerment project, and discuss what that means to us and what we're bringing to that, and develop a shared vocabulary and shared understanding and shared context, and ask each other questions and have discussions and have debates, and, of course, write books. Like Mary and I co-authored a book on empowerment, and I've co-authored blog posts with people on each of the themes in different ways. And there was just this sense of, how would I describe this strategic principle? It's like having shared context with collaborators is very, very, very valuable. So rather than just working with people one-off on a specific project, trying to develop shared context over time. And this helps with developing commander's intent, which is one strategic concept where you can communicate an intent for a project, why you're doing it, and then trust that the subordinate is going to act in accordance with that, even if there's like communication failures or things change or something like that, because they understand the larger purpose. And similarly, the other concept that comes to mind is Fingerspitzengefühl, which is fingertip feeling. And I learned about this through Boyd, who learned about it through the German strategist, I forget which one, and it comes up in Taoist strategy also, but the sense is that by collaborating with each other repeatedly, you start to develop this fingertip feeling, or this deep intuition for how the other person would treat a situation, or how they would respond, or what they're caring for. And you can kind of act in this like hive mind, or this collective mind, or this shared awareness of, this is how we do things. Simon Wardley calls this doctrine in Wardley mapping. It's like, this is how we do things here. And so over time, I've really tried to develop with my collaborators, this is how we do things at the Service Guild. This is how we do things in the Love Department. This is how we do things in the Curiosity Department. This is how we do things in the Empowerment Department. This is what we care about. This is how we see this. And within that, it made sense to have kind of a chief collaborator in each department, almost like a co-founder or a co-lead. And initially I was thinking of it as, they are the lead of that department, and I'm the lead of the guild overall. But over time, we've come to see it more as like a co-lead, almost like the metaphor has been more like co-parenting, and, where you both care about the household and the family, and you want it to thrive, and you work together to make sure that that happens. And yes, sometimes you might delegate specific responsibilities or play to certain strengths. Like I love washing dishes, and you might prefer making the meal, but like we both want to be well fed and make sure that we're well fed, and we don't want either of us to be putting in disproportionate effort overall into the system, but it might be uneven, like what the specific tasks are. So like as a specific example, like Mary often prefers like facilitating things, and she loves facilitating groups and holding group conversations and that kind of thing. Whereas I can do that, but I don't love it. And I'm very competent at doing like admin tasks and lots of ops type things. And Mary can do that, but it's not her joy. She doesn't thrive in that. And, I kind of enjoy thinking about how to optimize things like that. And so we play to our strengths, and we know, Mary's going to take this and I'll take that. And importantly, we have this shared set of experiences and understandings and concepts. And we've talked so much over the years. We've had so many conversations that we kind of know how the other person sees something, and we can trust our own intuitions, our own models of what the other person would care about when it comes to important decisions. And in a real way, there's I like to talk about this as like this kind of thing as like Tasha and Mary, or in Mary's case, she could speak of it as Mary Tashan. I have this article speaking of we, where I talk about this, but there's a we there. There's a we there. There's not just Tasha and Mary. There's also the shared being, or the shared being of the empowerment department. You know, we folded Anansi into the empowerment department, and he understands where we're coming from and knows what we care about and knows us really well. And similarly, in other departments, there's a spirit of that department and shared context and shared awareness. And by collaborating repeatedly with the same people over time, you start to develop shared context, shared understanding that is incredibly valuable. And you don't have to explain things that would be very basic to someone else. You can just kind of assume a lot and be like, oh yeah, we know why we're doing this, and just make things happen really fast, really effectively. It's also more fun. I don't know, I remember when I was at Maple, one of the real joys of a retreat would be, in the silent retreats, would be like being in the kitchen, and there would start over the course of a week-long retreat to be kind of a shared hive mind about how to do the dishes and how to move through the kitchen and how to clean it up after the kitchen, because there'd be, 10 people in there in a small space that all have to clean the space in, 30 or 40 minutes or whatever. And you would just kind of learn how to move as a group, not just as an individual, but as a group, almost like each of you is a finger that's on a hand that's playing piano, and there's music that's made. And so you are an individual acting in service to something larger. And we have that feeling in the Service Guild because I've been very intentional about choosing collaborators and structuring the themes that we're working on and building that shared context over time. So I imagine that shows up with like co-founder relationships in the startup context, probably some other situations too. Certainly, small friend groups or families, if you have a partner. But I really wanted to bring that same feel into the guild and know that investing in those relationships with people who have similar values, who have similar visions, who are like love people or curiosity people or empowerment people, people who get the spirit of doing fun service projects, that investing in those relationships and building shared context over time is going to be incredibly valuable in the long run. Yeah. So I hope some of this is helpful for you in your own context, and would love to hear anything that comes up if you want to share it in the comments.